welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll Podcast, the podcast for diehard Cavs fans. I'm Corey. I am here with Alex, and Alex, we have finally reached that milestone. The regular season has finally come to an end.
Yeah. Excited, man. Let's get to the
Yeah.
postseason. Number 1 seed.
The
Can't
Cavs
wait.
did it. They held on to the number 1 seed all season long. They clinched the number 1 seed from the last time we recorded. Finished with a record of 64-18, Alex, which is only 2 games off from franchise record. Be honest, are you a little disappointed they didn't go for that record or even surpass it? Or are you cool with the 64-18?
A little bit, because the way we were going, mid-season and towards the end of the season, I thought we had a chance to break the record. I thought we were chasing the 70 win season. I mean, we could have.
Yeah, we could have. That 5-game West Coast trip.
Yeah, that killed us.
That killed us right there, man. That killed us. But yeah, the Cavs have finally reached the point that they wanted to be back in, right? Which is playing meaningful basketball, the rest of the way here. And the Cavs, locked up that number 1 seed with a couple games to spare and really got to take advantage by resting players the last, at least 3 games of the season, Alex. And I don't know about you, I actually kind of had fun the last couple games watching some other players you don't typically get to see. But in a way, it's also felt like it's been forever since I've actually watched a Cavs game with like our guys, our rotational guys and stuff.
Yeah. Funny you say that, because I just went to a Cavs game. I
You
went
did?
to the Cavs versus Bulls game last Tuesday. It was also the Cleveland Guardians home opener, which made it interesting getting downtown and finding parking, which was a nightmare.
Yeah.
A lot of people walked straight from that Guardians game over to the Cavs game, so that was pretty cool.
That would have been the way to do it right there. That's a full day of some downtown fun right there. And you know what? It wasn't very warm, but it was a nicer day than what I thought it was going to be because the sun was out at least. And you know, um, but yeah, how did you get those tickets? Because weren't they kind of a last minute thing?
Yeah, buddy texted me at the last minute. Said, "Hey, you want to go to the Cavs game?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." It was like, man, it was probably like 2 hours before the game. So it
And you
was,
probably got the tickets cheaper than what they would have been if you would have bought them ahead of
yeah,
time, right?
$25, maybe uppers, but like row 5 or row 6, probably 30-yard line. So they were pretty nice view, good seats for $25.
Yeah, for $25 to go to a Cavs game, like it almost feels like that's not even realistic anymore, right? If you were buying tickets in advance. So
I think the beers cost us more.
yeah, I believe it. And what about that parking? Didn't you say the
Oh,
parking?
the parking. Oh man, like it was atrocious because everybody was already there for the Guardians game that started at like 3 o'clock. Like
Yeah.
all the lots were full. They were all $70, $80. So we like sat in traffic. I think we missed almost the whole first quarter of the game. Just trying to find parking. We ended up parking all the way over in Playhouse Square parking.
Oh wow.
But by then it was $20. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a bright side there.
Right, right.
Next time, I'm just gonna take the red line, man. I'll park at Puritas or Brook Park and take the RTA in.
There you go. There you go. Well, obviously, we want to talk about the playoffs, and we're recording this on Friday night, so we're less than 48 hours away from the Cavs' first game, which we now know who we're playing against. But before we get into all that, kind of just to go back to wrap up, the regular season for the Cavs. You went to that Bulls game. The Cavs win that game. Uh, Real quick, was there anything that stood out to you from that game? It was a pretty convincing win from what I remember. The Cavs won 135-113.
It
I
was
think
it.
the Cavs were in control most of that game. The Bulls make a run as any NBA team did, but never really had a chance in that game.
Yeah, I mean it was actually a good game. Cavs started their starters except
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell sat. It was a pretty good close game through the first quarter. Cavs just blew them out in the second quarter going into halftime. And then they started bringing in a lot of the bench,
Yeah.
and Bulls went on a run, made it a little more interesting going into the fourth, and then Cavs turned it back on. But got to see a lot of DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome out there on the court together, and man, those guys can cook. I
Such a
mean,
fun duo,
it's
isn't it?
yeah, it's just exciting. Yeah, it's such a good. They just feed off each other. Both of them can knock down the three. They're both real good at moving the ball. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, those two are going to be hopefully big difference makers, this playoff run because I'm going to have a hard time thinking of another team that has two players, not just one, because there are some teams that have one, but two players that can come off the bench and produce consistently like Ty Jerome and Hunter does. And this is also the game, if I recall, where Garland went off late in the game and started nailing 3-pointers and really helped put the nail in the coffin. He finished with 28 points this game. And going into this game, the Bulls were playing great basketball, um, and they were playing for something, right?
Right?
Because we were still at a point to where for teams like the Bulls, things weren't locked up yet as far as where they were going to fall in the seedings and all that stuff. So good job by the Cavs, kind of just getting it done. Um, my memory could be wrong here, but I want to say this might have been the game that actually locked up the number one seed,
It
if I'm not
was.
mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a little celebration at the end of the game,
Yep.
and they showed on the jumbotron Cavs number one, and yeah, it was cool. It was a little yeah, it was a nice game to be at just for that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the way to do it because the next two games are on the road against the Pacers and the Knicks, both teams that were also playing for something. Pacers have always been a little bit pesky, against the Cavs. So to get that win and to, clinch the number one seed and not kind of let it to chance, trying to steal a road win or letting it come down to that last game, the final game of the season. Good job by the Cavs there, and it's really what allowed the Cavs to be able to rest those players, a lot of those players, for the last three games. And as you said, Mitchell didn't play in that Bulls game, and actually Mitchell didn't play the rest of the the um, the season just to rest him up. He's fine from everything we've heard, but he had that ankle injury or
Yeah, I was gonna
tweak
say
against the
he was still
Kings,
nursing
right?
that ankle, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's been off for like, gosh, 2 weeks now by the time the playoffs start on Sunday. So but the Cavs do it. They lock it up, and the next couple games they are what they are. The Cavs dropped the game against the Pacers on the road. That was a hard fought game. Um, what I remember from this game is this is obviously the first game where we sat most of our starters. And the Pacers barely, you know, we gave the Pacers everything we could. Ty Jerome was a menace in this game. So was Hunter. Jerome had 24, Hunter had 23, and it took the Pacers everything they had to beat the Cavs without Darius Garland, without Evan Mobley, without Max Strus, and without Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the game where we didn't play any of our starters, and the Pacers played all their starters, and we took them all the way to the end.
Yeah,
And we should have won that game. Wow,
we
man, we
really
we
should have.
had it.
Oh man, I remember watching this game. I'm with my youngest daughter in the basement, and I'm like getting pumped up because Ty Jerome's going crazy. The Cavs like somehow or like have a chance to win this game when they really had no business even caring about this game. Even though they lost, it was a fun one to watch and just really
Yeah,
shows the depth of this team, right?
Merrill was going off too, man. He was
Yeah,
just stroking threes left and right. It was wild.
yeah, exactly. And what's crazy is last time we talked was about how Merrill was kind of, I forget what game it was, but was out there playing minutes, but really wasn't doing anything. You know what I mean? So the thing about this team is anybody is capable of going off at any time. And when you have so many players that can do that, usually more times than not, it's okay when a guy like Sam Merrill isn't going off because he's really like your seventh option
Yeah,
on
but
this team, right?
Merrill was playing some scrappy as hell defense that game too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he
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 had he
he,
had a
he
steal. He was diving for balls. He had a block. He was
yep.
just smothering dudes.
Yep. Yep. You got to love the hustle and seeing that kind of effort out of a player like him. who's really, just also trying to make sure that, hey, I want to be part of this rotation come the end of the regular season, right? And that was a great way to showcase that. And I do think Sam's going to be, important in this playoff run because he can come in and he could do damage in not a lot of time if he's knocking down those threes, as we've seen multiple times now, right? The next game, though, the last game that the Cavs actually won of the season was against the Knicks in New York. New York was trying to lock up their position as the third seed. So a win would have helped secure that, or I think it was the Bucks losing. The Bucks did lose this game, so the Knicks still locked up the 3 seed. But this was another fun game, Alex, because the Cavs did play some players. Garland and Mobley play this game. Kind of everybody played for the most part except for Mitchell. Ty Jerome didn't play actually, and Hunter didn't play, so not everybody. But similar to where the Knicks are playing for something, you're out on the road. The Cavs really could care less about this game and came out and just yeah killed them.
I mean,
Fourth quarter, killed them.
yeah, I was trying to figure that out because I don't want to say the Knicks threw the game, but it kind of seemed like they gave up towards the end, and I wondered if there would be a reason that they would want to lose that game to jockey for positioning. I don't know.
I don't.
I
I
didn't
don't.
really
I don't.
look into it, but
Yeah, I remember. I
it
remember
seemed a bit strange.
the Knicks and Bucks were pretty close, or not the Knicks and the Bucks. The Knicks and the Pacers were pretty close in the seedings, from what I recall. And the Pacers finished the 4 seed. I thought they were only a game or so behind. Pacers were only a game back or something like that, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, it just got to a point where in the fourth quarter, the game was back and forth. The Knicks actually jumped out early. That's right. This is the game where the Knicks had a 15-point lead after the first quarter. And the Cavs, instead of just being like, we locked up the number 1 seed, we just want to rest, we just want to be healthy, we don't really care, battled back into this game. And then come the fourth quarter, outscored them 30-16 and kind of just, you only win this game by 6,
Yeah,
but they battled all the way back from, being down early in the NBA, a 15-point lead isn't, the end of the
it
world,
it seemed like the
but
Knicks took
still
the fourth quarter off.
a little bit.
It's just what
They ran out of
it
gas.
seemed like to me, and then I was like, are they playing for something? Is there a reason that they would want to drop this game? Because that's just the
Yeah.
way it felt. But when I look at the way things ended up with the Knicks having the 3 seed to play the Pistons at 6, I don't know that game mattered all that much. So maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just a conspiracy theorist on that one.
Right. Right. Yeah, but this was another great effort, though. Again, with a game that really didn't matter to the Cavs. And what was great about this was the Cavs swept a total of 17 teams this season, Alex, which is crazy to think about. And with that win against the Knicks, they were one of those 17 teams. So I think we both said the same thing, like the next day at work, like it always feels good to just stick it to the Knicks at this point, right? Because we're still holding on to that Knicks playoff series when this core four was kind of just getting started a couple seasons ago, and
Yeah, it's
we
funny, isn't
we
it?
still hold on to that,
I
right?
do hold on to that. Every time we play
Absolutely.
the Knicks now, I remember that playoff series, and I'm like, man, I hope we stick it to the Knicks.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm a Knicks fan right now, I'm looking at what, where we were, we kind of flip flopped, right? The Cavs are now at the top of the East and clearly have to feel like there is a large gap between them and the Celtics and then the Knicks, right? Like the Knicks, probably aren't feeling, the most confident right now, that fan base, I mean.
Yeah, and it was disappointing because they were rebuilding at the exact same time that we were rebuilding. It almost felt like we were also drafting against them.
Yeah,
I know they took, was it Obi Toppin? I can't remember. They ended up trading him, but
I don't remember either.
no,
No,
I can't remember.
I don't remember. I
It,
don't remember that, but
okay, all right,
it
but
seemed like I mean they were very aggressive, right? The last year or two, bringing Carl Towns Anthony and Mikal Bridges, like they
mhm.
had a hell of an off season last year. They were going for it. They were all in. But kind of like what we saw for a year or two after Mitchell came in, you got to make the pieces work together. They got to fit. They got to gel. And I don't know their health situation throughout the season. For us, we had a lot of health issues, right? But it also comes down to the players being able to gel, to be able to adjust. Carl Towns Anthony was used to being the guy. Mikal Bridges was used to being that guy on the previous team. Jalen Brunson used to being that guy. There's only so many, shots to go around. And, the Knicks are still going to be a good team for a while. We'll definitely see them again. But yeah, I mean, I'm not totally shocked that it might have affected their regular season a little bit, because they had some new faces. Let's see what they do in the playoffs. They got to knock off Detroit in the first round, who's an up and coming team, feisty
That's a
team.
matchup I'm not envious of. Like I would not
Yeah,
want that's the last team I'd want to play in the first round
it's
if
gonna
I'm the
be
Knicks.
it's gonna be an interesting series to keep an eye on, and we'll talk about kind of the playoff brackets here in just a few. But I wanted to see what your opinion was about that one, or which first round matchup is most intriguing to you outside of the Cavs, obviously. But
Most intriguing, yeah, probably Knicks Pistons. I think that's pretty interesting. You got JB leading this
yeah,
Pistons team that is super overachieving
yeah,
against the Knicks,
absolutely,
who were they were they were great last season in the playoffs. So this
yeah.
will be the Pistons' first dip into the playoffs. But man, JB's got that team rolling
Cooking.
efficiently. We know how JB is, how he got the Cavs going with our young guys. I mean, they could definitely make a splash there. The other one that I like is the Celtics Magic. I think that's a pretty exciting matchup with the Bankero. So looking forward to watching that one also.
Yeah, I think that'll be a fun one too. So let's wrap up here. So the last game was against again the Pacers. This was at home. Um, this game was interesting, Alex, because the Cavs basically played guys you don't typically see. Craig Porter Jr. I mean, we've seen him plenty, but Craig Porter Jr., Tristan Thompson, Naquin Tomlin, Jalen Tyson, and Amani Bates all played 40 plus minutes in this game, which did go in double overtime, to be fair with Alex. But this game was, man, I remember being hype about this game too. I like watching guys like Craig Porter Jr. And we don't get to see him as much now with Darius Garland having, the season he did, the All-Star season, Ty Jerome coming in, being a beast in the backup position. So Craig Porter Jr., we didn't get to see him as much this year, but I like watching him. I liked watching Tyson to see what he could do out there, which finished with 31 points, by the way. It was fun watching this group and watching them battle the Pacers, who were also resting players, in what was a tug of war match of a game, Alex, that went in double overtime. And either team could have won this game like way back in regulation. It was a war. It was just a back and forth battle. And unfortunately, the Cavs ran out of gas at the end. But it was a fun one to watch.
Was this the game that Tristan Thompson got ejected from?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
no. That was the first pace. No, that wasn't. It was a flagrant two foul because
Hmm.
Atkinson got ejected when they called the flagrant.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember what game it was though. I don't remember what game it was. It was a while back. I think it was before these games that we're talking about. Now Tristan played 43 minutes, finished with 20 rebounds, 3 points, 3 points. He was mic'd up this game, and it was funny because Atkinson pulled him out at one point, and Tristan's like, "I'm good. I could play the whole game." He's like, "I'm good." He was out there having a blast, man, because he doesn't get to see a ton of action, and so he was out there having fun. But it was a fun game to watch. We got to see Luke Travers out there, OKK, Bates, Javante Green, Tristan Thompson, Craig Porter Jr., Jalen Tyson, and Tomlin. Also, who played for 1 minute, which helped secure his quest to play in all 82 games. Jarrett Allen started this game, and he played all 82 games this season, Alex, which is
That's
something that he wanted to
incredible.
do.
Yeah.
Isn't that? Isn't that?
Especially these days.
especially these days. And I want to swear during the game, the broadcast, they were talking about this, and he is one of only, I think, like 6 players that did that this season. Think about that. Only 6 players in the NBA this year played all 82 games.
Wow.
You know, just those numbers were a lot larger back in the day, right? I mean, you had a lot more players, star players that were playing, just about all the way as long as they were healthy. So I think that's pretty cool though that Jared Allen wanted to do that, and he's just such a likable guy. Like he just produces out on the floor. He's a goofy guy that waves to the crowd before every game. He's on a team friendly contract, and then on top of it, it's like, you know what? I want to play in every game this year.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not love Jared Allen? I don't know where I rank him yet as far as all time best centers in Cavalier franchise history, but I want to say he's in my top 3 right now. He's in my top 3.
So you're saying you wouldn't trade him for Zion Williamson?
I would not trade him for Zion Williamson, which was an article you sent me last night, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Get the hell out of
It
here!"
made me laugh, so I had to send it to you. I was like, "There's
They
no
they they
way."
moved on for the Kevin Durant for Evan Mobley swap, so now they're saying Zion for Jared Allen, huh? Makes total sense. Yep. That's legit right there.
Package deal,
So
right? Lots of
yeah,
swaps on our side.
right. Like
Yeah.
Allen again, he's on such a team friendly contract and produces so much for you. Why would you trade that guy anytime soon? There's no way, no way. But that's the season, Alex. 64-18. None of us saw that coming. We talked about that multiple times. But if you had to wrap up this season in a single word, what word would you choose to summarize this season?
A single word.
I love throwing these things at Alex without telling him before
Oh
we start
man.
recording, because then I get sincerity. I get him in an uncomfortable position. Me, I've thought about it for 3 days now. Alex has about 30 more seconds.
Keep buying me time, Corey. I'm looking around. Do I
Yeah,
have
he's
any
looking
words
around
written
like
down near me? I got a book here. I got an AT&T bill. Damn.
yeah.
Outstanding. Outstanding,
Outstanding.
Corey.
I'm gonna say
Outstanding.
that's perfect. I mean, there's so many things. I'm going with just beautiful. It was a beautiful season to witness. Again, the drama, all time low drama this year. I can't even think of something to complain about or even categorize as quote unquote drama, which we've had because of health issues, because of underperformances, because we had LeBron James for as long as we did, and all the cryptic and the constant feeling, that threat of him holding, the franchise hostage all the like. I can't even remember the last time there has been this less dramatic of a season. And then for the Cavs, for the most part, to remain healthy, had no players go down for really significant time. And for when players did go down, you didn't miss a beat, right? Evan Mobley misses 2 weeks or whatever it was, no problem. Not a big deal. You send 3 players to the All-Star game, and you clinch the number 1 seed. It was outstanding, and it was beautiful to watch. It was great. It was amazing.
It really was. And like you said, the lack of drama this season was like, yeah, I mean, this was the least dramatic season we've had in such a long time. It's pretty, even trying to do this podcast, it's like, well, what are we going to talk about? The Cavs
We
won
don't have
6
anything
more
to complain
games,
about.
Yeah, there's
There's
nothing
nothing.
to
3
yeah.
game losing streak, Alex. Yes, we can yell at them now. We can complain about something, but then no, not really, because we're still 12 games up on the Celtics or something like that. Or I don't think it was ever that big, but we never really had any threat this year either, right? So that's a very good problem to have, though. And it was great. And now we're at the point of the season where that needs to pay off, right? Because it needs to carry over into the playoffs and what is hopefully going to be a deep playoff run by this Cavs team. They have their starters have played the one of the least amount of minutes as a team in the NBA. They're all healthy. They clinched the number one seed. They have beaten every team in the NBA. Like there's no reason to have doubt. There's no reason to have confidence issues. There's no injury to point to blame if things go south. So now it's let's see the payoff of all this, and they just got to continue doing what they've been doing all season long.
If there was one bit of drama this season, I think it would have to be the trade.
The trade,
Levert, Niang for
yeah,
Hunter.
yeah, yeah. I don't even know if that was drama because I didn't see anybody not celebrating that or seeing that as a very like it wasn't like a 50-50 split, at least from what I saw. I'm sure there were some people out there like, no, why'd you do that? You traded two rotational players, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, everybody seemed pretty happy, with that trade when it went down. But it was just kind of that buildup of like, yeah, are the Cavs going to do something? Because we know other teams are going to do stuff, which nobody in the East really did. Nobody really made a huge, huge splash. But that was just such a big trade for us. And like we said earlier, Hunter is so fun to watch. Ty Jerome's so fun to watch. And both of them coming off the bench again is going to pay huge dividends.
Yeah. And Niang and Levert, man, watching that game tonight, seeing the Hawks get eliminated, I felt bad for them. Like, Niang and Levert went from, a team that was bona fide playoff studs to on the, just barely scraping by with the Hawks, and then they get eliminated. If this was a season a few years ago before the play-in tournament was a thing, they would have been in the playoffs. But because
Yep.
they lost two play-in tournament games, they're suddenly out of the playoffs. So
Right.
I mean,
Right.
and in the past, it feels like they got robbed a little bit.
Yeah, and on top of it, they both contributed heavily in this game, right? Niang dropped 20 points, Levert dropped 15. So it wasn't like something where they sat on the bench, couldn't make an impact, or kind of just had to watch it play out. They were out there, they were rotational players, and they put up efforts. And it'll be interesting to see, right? What's going to happen with Levert, with his contract situation this offseason. If I remember correctly, I think Niang might have another year or so on his contract, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys and where they end up, and if Atlanta liked enough of what they saw to them to keep them around and their plans moving forward. And to be honest with you, it's gonna be interesting. Not that I really care that much, but it's gonna be interesting to see what the Hawks do just in general. Are they gonna go in blow it up mode now
I
and
think so.
rebuild it? I
I
think
think
they
they got to
have to.
shake it up.
They got to shake it up,
I
right? They
mean, they
they
got
brought
Trey
in
Young.
Dejounte Murray. That didn't work out. Trey
Right.
Young is starting to age. He's only going to take you so far by himself. It might be time to break up, and start that rebuild process. So, Alex, let's get to it. We're about 30 minutes into this episode. Let's talk Cavs playoffs, man,
All right.
because we finally know who our first round opponent is, and we purposely wanted to wait to record this episode until we knew which team that was going to be. And Alex, who is that team?
The Miami Heat.
Are you satisfied with that?
I am. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I think it'll be a good series. You got Tyler Hero over there. You got Bam Adebayo. You got this Mitchell guy that I haven't really been following all season, but sure put one on the Hawks tonight. So
You
yeah,
got you
it's a
got
great.
Scary
It'll be great.
Terry.
Um, they do have Scary Terry. I
He
forgot
didn't
about
play
Scary
though. He
Terry.
he, he
Yeah,
didn't play in this game, so we need to look up what's going on with him. What's his health situation? Um, I highly doubt he's going to miss playing a playoff game in Cleveland, which he loves to give the Cavs the business. But I don't know his health situation, and also K Love. K Love didn't play in this game either. I don't know if he's just out of the
he's
rotation or if
hurt.
something's going on. He's hurt. Okay,
Yeah, he's
he's
hurt.
hurt.
I don't know about Scary Terry. He was not on the injury report, but Kevin Love was.
Interesting. Yeah, the Miami Heat. Listen, I kind of felt when I saw it was down to the Heat and the Hawks, I'm licking my chops over the Hawks, right? I think out of the four teams, the Hawks would have been who I ideally would have wanted to play against because I just felt like they were the weakest team out of the four. Chicago lost, so they were out of it. Orlando gets paired up with the Celtics as a result, and it came down to the Heat and the Hawks.
I'd,
And
I'd say a lot of Cavs fans did not want to see us play against the Hawks because of how much we
why?
struggled against them during the regular
Hmm.
season.
Interesting. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. That plays a factor, right? Because when the Cavs get out of the first round, what's going to be waiting for them is the winner of that Bucks Pacers series. And I feel like that way about the Pacers. I feel like the Pacers, for whatever reason, always give us a tough matchup, and that could be an interesting second round matchup for the Cavs. It'll be a good little test, which might be a good thing for them, right? I don't want them to have a cakewalk and then not be ready for those tougher series. But yeah, I'm sure Cavs fans were all over the place. Me personally, I was like, give me the Hawks. I didn't want Orlando, although it would be fun to beat them again.
Mhm.
And Miami would have been the second team I didn't want. I would have gone Hawks, Bulls, probably Orlando, and then Heat. So for me, this was the team I least wanted to play, but I still am I'm very confident in the Cavs. And should they win this series? Yes. Should they be able to do it in about 5 games? Absolutely. But you would know and I know anything can happen. And they have some players over there,
I'm surprised
right?
you hold the Heat so highly regarded here. Is it a Spolstra? Is it, what is it?
I think they obviously had some drama with the whole Jimmy Butler thing, and Jimmy Butler's the better player, but I also feel, not that I've watched Heat games, but Andrew Wiggins can play. And by the way, he also likes to give the Cavs a business as well because we drafted him and then shipped him off for K Love, right? So, Wiggins can play, Bam can play, Hero can play, Scary Terry can play. And then they got some other players that are capable of doing some things. And it's just, I think it makes them more of a well-rounded roster than if Jimmy Butler was still there. And when I compare them to like the Magic, it's not far. The Magic is a young team that has Bankero and some other nice pieces, and they're young, they're going to run and gun, they're going to be a little bit physical with you, and we have a little bit of history with them. And I don't know, I just felt like that would be in a tough matchup for the Cavs potentially, because the Cavs could potentially just overlook them and take them for granted. And we've gotten punched in the mouth by the Magic before. I mean, that series went 7 games last year, right? So, it was pretty close, but for me, I wanted the Hawks, to be honest with you.
All right. I see odds are already up on the first game. Cavs are
Ah,
11.5 point favorite.
11.5 point favorite. It's at home. I mean, the Cavs are well rested again, healthy. Yeah, they should win this game. That's a 7 o'clock game, right? I think it's a seven
Um,
o'clock game, is
Looks
what I
like it.
saw,
Yeah.
which is fun. I mean, it feels like it's been a while, man. With the first back when we won the championship, back in those runs, man. Easter's this weekend. It was fun watching Cavs playoff games. On Easter while you're at your families and everybody's around hooting and hollering and all that kind of stuff. And it's been a couple years since we've had that. And 7 o'clock's a prime time too, because you're already done with everything, right? You did all the family stuff, you did the dinner stuff, you already did dessert. You're just kind of sitting around at this point, and you sit on the couch and turn on the Cavs game and hopefully watch them beat up on the Miami Heat in the first game of the playoffs. That's going to be a good way to wrap up that Easter Sunday.
Yeah, I'll be watching ticket prices.
Yeah,
I want to see
yeah,
what ticket prices are going to be like 2 hours before the game because
yeah.
game two is on Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
That'd be the one to
So
look for. That'd be the
yeah,
one to potentially try to snag one too.
if I
Because
can
Sunday
score
everybody's
some
off.
cheap tickets, yeah, on a
Hopefully,
Wednesday evening right before the game, maybe it'll be worth it.
yeah. So, Alex, in your opinion, if you had to kind of break down this series with the Miami Heat, you kind of heard me give my piece on it, and why I at least respect the Heat. But what do the Cavs need to do, in your opinion, to win this series and win it in the least painful way possible? What I mean is don't let this drag out to a 6-7 game series. Don't make it a war in the first round. You know what I mean? But what do the Cavs
Right.
got to
Well,
do?
that's the thing about the playoffs, right? I mean, it's a much higher level of physicality, and that's
Yeah.
you got to keep your players healthy. So, with, I'm gonna say it's gonna sound generic, but the Cavs just got to play Cavs basketball. They got to set the pace. They got to set the tone. They got to play their way. That means moving the ball. That means getting guys open to hit the three. What they've been doing all season long. Jump out to that big lead and maintain it. Use
Yeah.
your bigs. I
I,
mean,
I, I totally agree. And what I want to see is, can the Cavs keep their cool? Can the Cavs keep their composure? Are the Miami Heat the team to test the Cavs from a physicality perspective? I don't really know who's really that physical, maybe outside of Bam. I don't think Tyler Hero is going to go around and start shoving Donovan Mitchell and trash talking him. But that second series against the Indiana Pacers, I could totally see that happening. And what are the Cavs going to do in that scenario? What are they going to do when they get knocked down and they're on the road and they're down by 15 and the game's looking bleak? What do the Cavs do? Do they keep their cool? Do they keep their composure and find a way to just remain patient? But yeah, I think that's going to be huge. The physicality thing, the mental game behind all that as well. Not to fall into that trap of all the just the yapping and stuff that's going to go on. And you're right, it's such a different style of basketball come playoffs. And listen, the Miami Heat is the first team in NBA history as the 10th seed to go into the playoffs. And that's really because this play-in tournament style thing is so new. But they're going to go into that like confidence is through the roof. They just won 2 games to get here. And they're going to be like, we came this far. What do we got to lose? Everybody's going to doubt us. Everybody's going to make us the underdog. We used to be in that boat once
right.
upon a time. And it was great to be in that. But Cleveland against the world, right? Miami's got to be feeling that same way. So there's always that slight danger available there. And you just don't want them to have that confidence for very long. Go take care of business on Sunday. Take care of business on Wednesday. Go back to Miami up 2-0.
Yeah, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Spo. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
they,
Great
I
coach.
mean, yeah, I mean, he sets the tone. He's a great coach. He's been there a really long time, and he's got that team playing great.
Yeah, absolutely. Seasoned coach, veteran coach, won
He's been through the
championships.
playoffs many times. Yeah, championships.
Exactly. He knows what he's up against, and he'll remain cool. He'll remain calm, and he's going to lead his guys the way he does. So I'm pumped though. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are as well, Alex. It's felt like it's been an eternity. It's been a fun ride to get to this point because of the success the Cavs had. But it feels like it's been so long since we've talked playoff basketball from last year's playoff run, and we're finally here. So it's great. We kind of briefly talked about the other playoff, series that'll be kicking off, which starts tomorrow on Saturday. So that's cool. Playoff basketball weekend. Um, we got the Pacers and Bucks at the 4 and 5, Knicks and Pistons 3-6, and then Celtics and Magic. And Alex, I think you said if you had to pick one, is that Knicks Pistons series the one that you would say intrigues you the most?
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to watching. I think that's going to be a physical, scrappy game. I just
Yeah.
know it will be. That's going to be a fun back and forth. I don't see either team dominating the other team. I think it's going to, those are going to be a lot of games that come down to the wire, and they're going to wear each other out.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think the Knicks ultimately win this series, but it would be kind of fun to watch them struggle a bit. Let them go 6 game, 7 game series. And then after they limp through that series, you know what's waiting for them in the second round, right, Alex? The
Yes,
Boston
sir.
Celtics. The Boston Celtics.
Yeah. Or
The
the Heat
only
or the
bad,
Magic.
well, if the Magic are there, we'll be licking our chops because that title, that making it to the finals run gets a little bit
Yeah.
easier. The only bad thing I see with that is, if the Knicks do go through a war and kind of limp through that series with the Pistons, are they going to be able to give the Celtics very much fight? What I don't want to have happen is the Celtics just sweep them in 4, and we're in a battle with the Indiana Pacers going 6-7 games. Have 2 days rest when that series ends, and then have to go play Boston.
hmm
So I'm looking way ahead, obviously, but it's just fun once you see the matchups and you see how the brackets are and stuff. You can kind of already picture the potential, path the Cavs will face to hopefully get to the finals, but also the other teams and what other teams they could potentially intercept with and in what scenarios.
So, is there, I know we're talking a lot about the Eastern Conference here, but is there any matchup in the Western Conference that interests you? I know the Mavericks and Grizzlies are battling right now to see who plays the Thunder
Thunder.
number one, but is there any other matchup there that interests you?
Yeah, I think if I had to pick one, it probably would be the Nuggets and the Clippers. Um, really, because when you look around at some of these other teams, like the Thunder should theoretically smash whoever they're playing. The Lakers, which hey, credit to the Lakers for finishing the third seed. That's pretty impressive. Yes, they brought in Luca, but your best player or your second best player is still 40 years old in LeBron James. And it's not like that team has a ton of depth. And then, the Warriors and the Rockets, it's like, okay, I don't know how the Rockets finished the second seed, and the Warriors are like, sure, they still got Steph, they still got some pieces, they got Jimmy Butler now, right? But I'm most intrigued with the Nuggets because I like, if I had to pick a team out west, I like the Nuggets. I like Jokic. I like Jamal Murray. I think he's a great underrated point guard. I like their roster. And then with the Clippers, I can care less about James Harden, but they still have Kawhi. They still have some other pieces, and I feel like that could be a potential battle right there. Who would you pick out west?
The game that interests me, or the series that interests me the most, would be the Lakers against the Timberwolves. Of course, I think that's. I mean, LeBron James and Luca versus Ant Man and Gobert. So I know
Yeah.
neither of those teams are very deep, like you said, but I think that's a pretty exciting matchup, and it'll be interesting to see how that season goes.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on the Lakers in general. Um,
Lakers been hot
Alex,
ever since they made that trade for Luca. They just been steamrolling everyone. So
they've been hot.
yep.
And I, again, I'm looking way down the road here, but can you imagine? I think we talked about this a couple episodes back, and at that point, it was like, ain't no way. But what can you imagine if somehow the Lakers and the Cavs were in the finals against each other? It
Oh
was
man,
like, I, would Cavs fans be able to process that, like, and handle that,
it,
especially if somehow the Lakers were to win that series?
it
Like,
very well could happen.
ah,
Could
like,
happen.
and LeBron does it and like clinches that in Cleveland, and they have that all right,
No,
let's just get to
no.
Sunday. Let's start this playoff run with the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Miami Heat before I start going all crazy over here. But that's kind of some of the dream scenarios. That's the fun of the playoffs, right? You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. And one, not that you ever hope for this, right? But one injury can play such a big factor in a playoff run, right? To where it looks like this team should wrap it up, and all of a sudden, Jason Tatum gets injured, and now that playoff series against the Magic becomes more interesting, or against the Knicks, or against the Cavs, or just whatever.
Right.
So it's gonna be fun to watch.
That's one of the great things about the Cavs being such a deep team.
Definitely, definitely. At the same time, I don't want a single guy to get hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Knock on wood.
I want everybody. I want there to be no excuses. Whatever happens, happens at the end of the day. But I don't want it to be 2015. I don't want it to be we lost that championship because we lost both Kyrie and Kevin Love, and Delhi had to go to the hospital garden. Stuff Kurt. Like, I don't want that. I want it to be because, you know what, the Cavs gave it their all. They had a hell of a season. They just weren't there. They're going to come back, run it back again next year, and get over the hump. Not because, some injury or something like that. So we'll
Well,
see,
here we
man.
go. Yeah,
It's it's
playoffs.
it's fun. Cavs fans, get ready. I know you're ready. We've been waiting to get here. And Alex, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. Want to thank you, Cavs fans, as always. And Alex, go ahead.
Follow us on Twitter at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Watch this episode on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, Click like, subscribe, leave us a rating or review. We'd appreciate it.
All right, Cavs fans, there it is. We will talk to you soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.